Stinkweeds is 35 years old. We started in a small store in Mason. We've moved 4 times. I think what sets our store apart is it's highly curated, meaning we have all genres, but we have the best of those genres. And it's been that way since the beginning. We do new and used, and we buy great collections all the time. Well, I would like to tell you about Darren Jones. Anybody that listens to old Al Green, old soul music, this band is absolutely tremendous. And the other thing I would like to call out about this record is I really love the way it's recorded. In particular, the drummer does a lot of the falsetto vocals on, background vocals in it, and I just love the way it's recorded. It'll take you back in time. It's really well done. The other one I want to shout out is Sonarwin. Many people probably have not heard music like this. It's from Northern Africa. The instrumentation is absolutely brilliant, and it's a little almost trancey. You put it on, and it just takes you to another place in time. And I would just like to encourage everyone to explore music with such diverse instrumentation from around the world. This is something we play in the store, and invariably people come up and ask what it is, and they will buy it after just a song or two.
One of my favorite records of last year was Viola. She is a young British singer who mixes disco, funk, old school soul, and Americana together into one big, positive, fun party. And I recommend this to all age groups and all types of people because the influences are really wide and vast. And it's a really fun record, and I highly recommend it. This is Melissa Carper. This record came out in 2022, but it sounds like it might have come out in 1942. She mixes old country, western swing, and jazz. You can tell that she grew up listening to her parents' Billie Holiday records. It has a very old-timey feeling, but with some modern and contemporary lyrical content. So it's a record that I think people enjoy listening to, that appreciate vintage sounds and vintage vibes.
I want to talk about Roy Ayers' Jazz is Dead. Mostly I want to talk about the series, the Jazz is Dead series. This is put together by two great jazz musicians. What they're doing is they're finding musicians that were putting out music in the 60s and 70s, mostly soul jazz, things like that. And they're bringing them into the studio and making these albums that kind of, are an homage to what they were doing at that time. But the cool thing about it is the two musicians that are organizing this, they're jazz musicians, but you could tell that they also grew up listening to a lot of hip hop. So they were listening to the album or the music that was sampling these artists, and they now have an opportunity to bring these artists in and make music that's a little bit of what they were doing back then, but also with a little bit of that hip-hop influence as well. Really cool stuff. Also want to talk about Wise Blood. Just beautiful, lush music, string arrangements, synths, really just sink into your chair type music. You could say it's Karen Carpenter if she was backed by Pink Floyd would be one way to describe it.
If I was going to buy a record that reminds me of Lindsay, I would pick a Dolly Parton record because Dolly Parton mixes all different types of genres, and she's just absolutely kick-ass. You don't see her coming, and she just will crush you under her boot.
A record that reminds me of Kimber is Sharon Jones' Naturally, mostly because that was probably the first thing that her and I connected on when I got the job at Stinkweeds in 2005, 2004. No, 2000, yeah. That was playing, and I remember asking her who it was, and we just got into a great conversation about that record. And we are both still totally into Sharon Jones, and anything that's been put out from her in the past, we're always in love with.
The record, or any record by Grizzly Bear, would remind me of Dario. They are a complex and very interesting band with a lot of unique instrumentation. And I think Dario likes them still. I know he used to. And I like them. And so I always think of Dario now. The record that would remind me most of Kimber is probably anything by Pinback. And love Pinback. And when I first started in 1999, it's kind of all we were listening to in the store. and I found a lot of like kind of solace in that music, just because it was kind of let's just say I was kind of stressed out and nervous all the time working in a record store like this for the first time, and coming back was kind of made the ride a little bit easier. Still listen to them now. Great band.
So I prefer physical media. I prefer CDs, records, even cassettes. A lot of that over digital music, mainly because it's an activity. You're actually engaged with your listening. When you listen to digital music, you're pushing a button. If you're doing that, you're more likely to go off and just do other things. Whereas if you're listening to a physical copy of something that you own, something with an album cover with liner notes that you have to go through these motions to listen to, you're going to be much more likely to sit down with your glass of wine and actually listen to that music.
It's incredible the transition that's taken place in society as people listen to digital music. I was listening to an interview with somebody who said, I love the White Album by the Beatles, but I cut out 3 or 4 songs, and I don't listen to the whole thing because there's a few things on there I really don't like. And I thought, so are people just going to start showing up to museums with scissors and like cutting out the part of the painting they don't like that color? I mean, it is a full album intended to be listened to in its entirety, and I just really fundamentally disagree with slicing and dicing upon just whimsical, I don't like that part, right? It's like you're missing something that artist was trying to share with you.
And I think in the physical format, the listener is forced to understand the piece of art as it was meant to be. Decisions that go into choosing the song order and just the track listing, and that's part of the whole thing. And I prefer, CDs and records, and listening to, from beginning to end. Classic country, I would say Charlie Crockett. Newer country, Chris Stapleton.
Coulter Wall as well.
Oh yeah, Coulter Wall, for sure.
Shopping for someone, hip hop.
Shabazz Palaces if they like to get weird.
Punk rock.
I'd go back in time and recommend Battalion of Saints or Adolescents.
I'd say this band doesn't like to be called punk rock, but Idols, if you're looking for that intensity.
Indie rock.
I'd say Not a Surf, Let's Go.
Future Islands.
Electronic music.
Odessa and Mount Kimby.
Pop music? What does that mean?
What do you guys think is the worst song of all time?
There's so many to choose from.
Pretty fly for a white guy.
The Badonkadonk song.
Beatles or the Stones?
Beatles, but mostly Paul McCartney.
Agreed. I would say if I could get surgical on it, I'd say Paul McCartney.
Prince versus Michael Jackson.
Prince.
Okay, and very, very topical. Beyonce versus Taylor Swift.
Beyonce. Queen Bee, come on.